in the studio today with our friend from, well, actually here with me, Leah, and we've got a guest host in today. We've got Atem. Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah, that's my family name. Yeah, you got it right. Atem, yeah.
Yeah, and also we've got a guest in today, and he's the Deputy Chairman of the African Community Councils of Wellington. And he's also going to talk to us about what's happening with the election that's coming up, and a little bit about what's going on with the ACCW. So I'd like to introduce Kosam Nyamdela, and he's going to talk to us about all of this stuff. So before we get right into that, I'd just like to start off with a wee bit about yourself, like your own background, when you arrived in New Zealand, Aotearoa, and when you aren't wearing your deputy chairman hat, what are you doing?
Right, thanks for having me, Leah. It's an honor and privilege to be on the radio. About me, I came to New Zealand in 2002 from Zimbabwe, and work-wise, when I came in, I was a broadcast engineer and a telecommunications engineer as well.
Oh, broadcast engineer? I didn't know that.
Yes, I did lots of radio stuff and television stuff.
Okay, was this in Zimbabwe?
Zimbabwe and New Zealand.
Oh, okay. Whereabouts in New Zealand were you doing that?
Right, I was working for a company called BCL then, and then changed its name to Kodia now.
Kodia?
Yes. Okay. So what Kodia does is mostly wholesale kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So from the broadcasting side, all those transmitters for FM, the television transmitters, they are all installed and maintained by Kodia.
Okay.
And you'd find those at very high sites for the radios, like Mount Kaukai, which is the nearest in Wellington.
Yeah. That's up.
Was that analog or digital? Could I ask that?
But so when I started, it was still analog, and then we transitioned from analog to digital.
Oh, awesome.
And I was leading the engineering teams that were installing the transmitters there.
Okay, so it was more infrastructure stuff.
Infrastructure stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about what you're doing now?
What I'm doing now, quite a few things. Right? There's the ACCW, which I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm also in, my day job is I'm a principal advisor at Fire and Emergency.
Okay.
Yes, in the ICT department.
How's that going with all the strikes?
Oh, well, we're also sort of in the IT department, so we're not in the front line. So that's something that I'm not really familiar with in terms of what's happening and negotiations and so on and so forth.
I could actually say on the streets I see the firemen are protesting quite often these days. I hear so many they just protesting because they're underpaid, and it's right for them to do it because
I think that's a problem across the board in New Zealand.
It's just like people get looked down on what jobs they get, and some jobs get paid higher. It's like we all need to be. There needs to be equity.
Equity.
Equity, no, equality, equity.
Equity, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a good word.
Yeah, equity.
Yeah. And I do know you're also the host of ViFA.
I'm also the host of ViFA, which airs every Wednesday. And in addition to that, I'm also on the board of the Institute of Managers and Leaders, Australia, New Zealand.
Okay, is this a secret society? How do you get into that? What's this all about? You've got to fill us in.
Right, Leah. So this is about, it used to be called New Zealand Institute of Management and Australian Institute of Management, and then they merged to form one body.
What was the purpose of that, do you think?
Right, so it's to become a stronger body, a stronger representative body. And as you know, people move between Australia and New Zealand a lot. So
yeah, exactly.
That's just an artificial, kind of border.
Yeah. I think eventually that border will disappear.
It should, as it should.
We used to be part of New South Wales, I think it was in the 1900s. A lot of people don't agree with this, but I just think economy-wise, When we've got so many people leaving the country to find work and employment in Australia, why is it so hard for New Zealanders when they go there?
Yeah.
It should be more equitable. Is that the right word?
Yeah, you got it right.
We want equity.
Yeah.
That's what we want,
Yeah,
right?
we're getting back to that word. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, so we're going to start off this discussion with tell us a little bit about the ACCW mission statement, because did you know what the ACCW was before I sent you that invite to the...
To be honest, I actually didn't even know what they do.
Right.
To be honest, so
Had you heard of them though?
I'm unwilling to know too, like everyone else, like what
Yeah.
they actually do.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I just came here and I just got
You got dragged...
dumped in the system and
Oh,
they figured
I
it
thought
out.
you meant dragged to the radio station. Well, you
Nah,
actually
nah,
got
nah,
dragged
nah.
to the radio station.
No, come on. Yeah. Hey, I came here and like I just had to figure out things on my own most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I know about the African community is RMS, which I never really got related with, because like but you know, I'll be willing to hear what he has to say about what they actually do.
Yep.
Right, so I'll just start off with what ACCW represents. ACCW represents anyone of African origin, descent, or affiliation, or anybody who identifies themselves as African, either directly or indirectly, maybe through marriage or any such thing. So anyone with African in them is represented by ACCW in Wellington, for the Wellington region.
Okay. And so, all right, so you didn't know what the ACCW was before?
I didn't know, to be honest. It's just like,
What?
we were like in the mainstream with schools and all that kind of stuff, so we were trying to fit in the society, but we didn't know we had the support with us, so now we slowly finding out that we got the support, but we just didn't know about it.
What do you think the disconnect is there from getting information? You know, what do you think it is that's getting the information from where you are
It's just
out to where you are?
I think the whole problem was like there's a generational divide, like where the younger people don't talk to the elders and older generation people, you know. And so without that, because most of the time a lot of problems get raised with the younger generations, and you doing this, you doing that, but we just didn't know that these kind of services existed for us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hear you. We inherited ACCW from a period where only one person was running it.
Yeah.
And that was just last year. And within that year, we have managed to hold several events which we hoped would raise that awareness, and we also hoped that word would spread
organically.
Yes, but then apparently, obviously it hasn't, because some people haven't heard of us. So what we will strive to do is to make more outreach.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Events. And these would be spread throughout Wellington rather than having them in only one place, so that we get to reach communities from all over Wellington, and we'll try and publicize within those areas that we are coming to an area this Saturday. Let's have this event. Let's talk about what's happening and so forth. You know.
Yeah, I think like being able to sit down and discuss these things just with general people, and this was another reason I asked Blayz to come in, was because he's part of the youth. Well, in my day you wouldn't be called a youth, but today you're called a youth.
Oh no. I don't even feel like
you're the
I'm a youth
rangatahi.
anymore. I got my kids too,
Me and Kosam are getting a bit long in the tooth, and we can't be carrying the load forever. We've got to pass it on to the next person.
It's so good, and we're trying to step up, to the table and stuff. But the problem is we don't know where to start. And for a lot of us, that's the problem we got.
That's a really good point too. How do you get that information out to young people where it's engaging with them and it's exciting them enough to be passionate about taking over such governance things? Or is it about maybe changing up the way the ACCW is actually constructed?
Right, we have tried to engage the youths by having representation at the ACCW committee. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked really well so far, for one reason or other, maybe due to time commitments and pressure of other things. And maybe one other factor that has not been working very well for us is the funding bit, because we didn't have much in terms of funds to sponsor events. But we'll be looking at improving that from now onwards in terms of getting the funding, getting the youth more involved, more engaged, finding out what they want, having them lead themselves, and us only coming in when invited. So that is what we'll be aiming at doing. So we really encourage youth to take up these positions, and we will talk about the elections later. We will also encourage youth to, stand up for the elections. Because as we said, we're getting long in the tooth.
Yeah, long in the tooth.
We won't be around forever.
No, I want to be sitting one day at the back of the room watching everybody else run the show.
Absolutely.
I'll just cover quality control.
Can I say something real quick? Like, I've been thinking, like, one thing that youth actually want is to just be given the opportunity to do something like that. So like a lot of my peers, it's just where we don't know where to start from. We know there's a community in Wellington, we know there's a community in whole of New Zealand and stuff, but where do we go? What's the starting point to communicate with people?
Like say
to get in touch,
Like say for example, like Blayz is Atem Blayz, aka Blayz, is a rapper, and you were talking to me about management, and like how ACCW could be an organisation that actually helps young people who are creative to actually support their creative side. I mean, not all of us are going to be academics. And some of us are academics and don't want to be academics because they don't fit in that environment, So, like, I'm just wondering, like, do you think ACCW could be an organisation that could actually foster that kind of support in the community by going to the kids and say, what do you guys want? And how can we help facilitate that?
Absolutely, Leah. I'm glad you asked that question. Only in the last 2 weeks, I was talking to Ras Judah about the same thing. He's an artist, right?
Yeah.
And we were saying what we need is to create communities of like-minded people.
Yeah.
So if we have artists grouped together, and then we let people know that this is a group for artists, they meet every Saturday, come to this place and discuss whatever you want to discuss, how you want to proceed, if you need any help, if you need any coaching, if you need anything, that's the place to go for that time.
Yeah.
We also talked about, I was with another young man who is now doing his PhD, Byron.
Byron, yeah, I listened to that interview, it was really good.
So it was really good, right? So what I also talked to him was, we do have quite a number of academics from Africa.
Yeah.
And those could create a group where those who are doing like PhDs or masters or whatever degree could go and reach out,
Exactly.
Because sometimes they find they don't have that support.
Yeah.
Within the education system.
Or and sometimes they don't even have the connections in the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if we create those connections for them and create those communities for them, then that will be the place where they can meet.
Yeah.
And as we talk about academics, for instance, if somebody is lecturing at Victoria University, then they have access to places or spaces where people can meet and talk about things in that area.
One thing I found out when I was in Perth talking about universities and lectures is that, you don't actually have to go to university to attend a lecture. You can just rock up and attend the lecture. If it's something that interests you. Yeah. And I mean, once the information's in there, it's in there and it's in there for free.
Right.
Yeah. So, just a little bit of side hustle there.
What I was going to say was that, with what you were saying about all these young people getting into different groups and stuff, it's a really good point, but how to make it happen is quite a hard thing to do. Because we all come from Africa and come to New Zealand over here, most of us don't know each other. So like when you move into a neighborhood, like you could be in the same neighborhood with someone who's from your origins, but you don't even know them. You know, so it's quite a hard thing to do.
Yes, that's a good point. It's not so difficult as such, because what we need to do is to learn to trust each other to start with. And when we create these groups, we need to share information, and that is where trust comes in. Because as Africans, we are mostly suspicious by nature.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do you want to know my name? So if I don't know your name...
What I meant was, I'm sorry to cut you off, I'm really sorry. I meant this thing like, you know, when like, if you could be in the same neighborhood and not know each other, but you both come from the same place.
I know.
And for them two people to know each other, there has to be a space or a place where they can meet and, you know, talk with each other, connect, network, all of that.
Yes, you're right. But it takes commitment also. People have to want to go there. We have called for lots of meetings, Leah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know I'm asking you questions, and I'm already aware because I was on the executive, but I'm asking the questions for benefit of the listeners.
Of course.
So like, I do know the answers. But
So we have tried to engage. We have tried to make some outreach. Maybe we're not using the right methods, but we have tried to do that. And maybe the word hasn't reached many people. But we should be keeping on doing it. At some stage, we'll make a breakthrough.
I think one of the things about getting into any community activism, whether it's organizing or governance, you have to get or even if you're a creative and you're trying to break into something, you have to be able to take the hits with the wins. If you can't take the hits with the wins, you're not gonna get anywhere. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna get worn out. And there's a certain amount of resilience that's required and integrity that's required, right? You have to have a vested interest in seeing what's going to happen a generation or 2 generations from now, and you may not immediately benefit from it. And that's where I see people drop off over the decades that I've been here. That's where I see leadership drops off because they're only interested as far as the end of their nose. You know, so there's a lot of work that goes in, and you know, like, I've been in the activism space for about 30 odd years by the time I was over there, and this is the first time I've been acknowledged for what I'm doing. Nobody really acknowledged, or recognised what we were already doing. You know, I put up some posts just the other day about the African Children's Playgroup, and tagged one of the girls that helped me, and it was just that was the evidence. That was the evidence that we did that. Like, a lot of that evidence has been lost. I've actually tried to look it up with the Early Childhood Development Unit. It's gone. And, well, with education departments. So I don't know where I'm supposed to go next to find out. But that's really sad for our communities that these sorts of things were not valued enough to be kept, to pass on that information and that knowledge to the next group of people coming
generation.
Yeah.
Could I like quickly mention something about like how these when I first came to New Zealand, we used to have like community events for kids and all these like holiday programs and all this, but what happened is like a lot of migration has been happening and a lot of people just moving out of New Zealand. And so like the minority of us that are left here now, as hard to connect with each other, we have to get together somehow.
There's another way to
survive.
survive.
So whoever's listening, please just like try to reach out and connect with each other, because that's the only way we're going to do this.
Because I think like that comes back to investing in where you are. As much as you invest in where you're from, you've got to invest in where you are. Otherwise you end up walking on thin ice everywhere. There's no stability.
And I guess some of the things that inhibit people from talking to each other is more like the Kiwi culture, where people just do what they do, they don't care about the next guy. And you find that, I mean, when I'm walking in the street, each time I see somebody, who I think identifies as African, I try to nod or say hello or something like that. Sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't.
That was a very common thing you know, back in the 90s, and as soon as you saw it, because there was hardly anybody
There were
around.
very few people.
Yeah, so like when you...
I can testify to that. That thing changed like after 2020. It kind of changed just before COVID. After that, after COVID,
I've noticed
that's when
it
it's
since I
changed,
came
'cause
back.
Since I got to New Zealand in 2005, every time I would see another guy that looks like he's from Africa, if I nod to him, he'd nod back. These days, I can nod to another guy that looks definitely African, but he will nod back.
Look, let me tell you, I got into concerts by just acknowledging the black travelling artist that was coming through Wellington. Yeah, that's how I get into concerts for free and get to the
I thought you
after
were a
parties.
performer or part of the group.
Yeah, that's the way it was. You know, like you didn't walk past somebody if they're African and not acknowledge that.
No.
I don't know when that started here.
Yeah.
Because it started after I left, because it wasn't like that when I left in 2006. So when I came back, I was like, what's wrong with these people?
You left just when I got here.
Yeah. I left in 2006, came back in 2015. When I got back,
it was different.
people were behaving differently. And also the makeup of the African community had changed quite a lot. We had there was more Rwandans now, there's more Zimbabweans now. Like it was mainly Sudanese and East Africans, you know, Ethiopians, when I left into that. And then there was a whole other makeup because other things have gone on in the world. But I don't know, I couldn't figure out, is it that? Because, you know, that's not an African thing to do.
No, it's not an African thing.
So like, and surprisingly, it was like that in Perth. It's like that people don't acknowledge each other in Perth. Yeah, I noticed that was quite, that because I used to, you know, walk past somebody from Africa, you go, hey, and they just look at you.
Can I say something that's true?
What's that?
Like about Australia?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like, you know, like the African mentality where we came from, and we came from tribal wars and all of that. That thing exists over there. That's the difference between Australia and New Zealand. In New Zealand, like I can hang around with anybody from any place of Africa and call each other brothers. But if I was supposed to go to Australia, is another whole different story. I have to hang out with my own kind and my own tribe.
Yeah, in Melbourne they've got their own business districts as well. So like Fitzroy and, you know, Mirrabooka in Perth, which is all, you know, there'll be lots of African businesses there. But we don't have that here.
Yeah,
and
we don't.
The numbers are much bigger. Yeah, there's a lot more numbers there. But, you know, when you're just a small community, it's easy to know one another. As soon as you start growing. So I thought, oh, maybe it's just because it's bigger. But when I look at Newtown, it looks like there's a lot more people that have left Newtown than come back to Newtown. And now it looks like the majority of people live in Nainai. Would that be right?
In Nainai at the moment, there's not many families left there, because like most of them, like I knew most of the families that lived in Nainai, because I
Moved to Australia.
Yeah, most of them moved to Australia or moved to Newtown.
And then moved to Australia.
Yeah. So I the whole thing is, I think, it's mostly about money.
Yeah.
People want to go make
surviving
and all that, but,
and getting enough cash to live here, and it's not getting any easier.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So I think we should go to a break and play a song, but we'll come back to this after the break. So what do I got? I think I'm going to play my friend here. His name is Ken Rohde. He's a friend to the show, and this is his latest track, Shana. Cool. So now we're back. We're back with Kosam and Blayz, and we're talking about the elections that are coming up. And I understand, right, there's a process that people have to go through before they can actually vote for somebody to be on the executive. Can you explain what that process is so people understand before the day, so they can be prepared if they want to come in and vote?
Right, so yeah, good question. First off, what we will try and do to start with is to postpone the AGM. Right. Because we need to have more outreach and make sure that everybody understands the process.
Right, so then.
Yeah, so I think we will most likely postpone the AGM. That's the first point. Then the second point is, if you need to nominate someone, you have to be a member of ACCW. Right. Right. A membership costs about $15 per year.
Per annum, right? Okay.
Yeah, and once you're a member, then you can nominate any member to be on the ACCW committee.
So you can't nominate somebody who's not a member?
No, you can't.
Okay. How do people sign up to become a member of ACCW?
Right, there is a form on the website, ACCW website, where they can fill in the form and then they can, pay for the membership and become a member.
So that's www.
africancommunity.org.nz.
africancommunity.org.nz. So www.africancommunity.org.nz. The forms are there.
The forms are there.
They can fill them in online.
Yes.
Yeah, and then just send them back.
Yes.
And but you're going to postpone this AGM.
Yes.
To get that
because
information
we also need to sort of publicize the accounts for those who are already members, because they don't need to become members again.
Right.
And after a year, I think people would have forgotten the ACCW account anyway.
Yeah.
So we are going to publicize that account on the website, and people only need to deposit the money in the account just using the references that are written there,
okay,
their name and stuff like that, so that we know.
Well, when you share those forms, we'll post them up on our sites as well.
Well, I'll send you a link.
Great. Do you have any questions about the voting situation?
I was just like trying to wonder, because some of this information was never made known to people like me when we first got here. Like.
Well, it wasn't around when you first got here, I don't think.
Okay, that's something happened after that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like in the future, would it be like possible for someone like maybe when Africans are coming over, just to give them that kind of information when they first get here, so that they know there's a community link to get to?
Yeah, like when they first get off the plane?
Yeah, not, but if they know, like, people that come through.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a very good point. Maybe what we will do is to engage the Ministry for Ethnic Communities, and maybe on the immigration page, we could include information of where to find communities like, Africans or, wherever else. I think that would be a very good point, and it will be a very good starting point for anyone who is new. And I know New Zealand is a very hard country, especially if you are new. It's a hard country to sort of understand and get yourself around.
Have you heard of the new Pan-African Centre that opened in Auckland?
I've seen that. I saw that. I think it was well publicized.
Yeah. Did you go up for it?
No, I didn't. I had another engagement, so I couldn't go. Did you?
No, I didn't go because I don't travel that much.
Okay.
Usually by the time it gets to Saturday afternoon, I'm crawling back into my bed. Like literally. It's switching off. Yeah.
The only reason I brought that up was because like I'm as an African that's living in New Zealand here, born and raised in Africa, but here living in New Zealand, I consider myself a Kiwi anyways. I have Kiwi kids too. And the only thing that frustrates me the most is like every time I have to fill some forms in like government departments and stuff, there's always a tech ethnic group, Asian and then other. I'm like, we've been here long enough, man. Why we always gotta be the other?
Well, once upon a time in New Zealand, you were the Negro. Like I had to tick that box.
Man,
so
we have to change that. Like some of us are fed up.
They went from other.
I want to take my African.
No, we went from there was the Negro categorization on census and forms, and I saw it again when I was in Perth.
Whoa.
Yeah, in 2009, and we were doing a security job, a security course, and basically we must have all the African people in the room reached that question at the same time because we all sort of at each other.
You can pick that up very quickly.
What is going on? And so we went into the office and we said, why is that there?
Why?
And so in New Zealand, it went from there was that category, and then suddenly there wasn't a category. Suddenly you were other, and now we're Mila, isn't it? You tick the Mila box, which is Middle Eastern, African, and Latin American.
But why does it even matter in the first place, though?
Well, they collect stats and data from all of this. This is how they do it. Well, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like, whatever my mind.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, like, stats is there. There's people at the front desk that can explain what the statistics are for.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like that was, I think that's absolutely true. And I think, like, there's a push to address that whole Mila category right now, isn't there? Because there's a Mila action group I know in Auckland with Ngozi Penson.
Yeah, I've seen that
Yeah,
one, yeah.
and I didn't put my name up to do that because this is enough. The Blackhouse is enough. I'm like, I support you, but
And you do great editor. By the way, congratulations. You know
On
what
what?
you're doing is awesome. Like you're giving
thank
us a platform. You know, a voice for everyone over here.
Well,
you know, thank you.
we're not going to know what's going
You're much
on.
appreciated.
Oh, thank you so much. I just think we're not going to know what's going on unless we're able to have those conversations without being afraid or being offended or being egotistical. I mean, sometimes we just have to be able to sit down and just nut it out.
Yeah.
So we've gotten to the point of you have to be a member to vote. What's the day going to be like? How are we running the day?
Right, so it will be from about 2 to 5 p.m. on a Saturday.
Okay.
And we will provide food.
That was my next question. Will there be food?
So you don't have
I'll
to
be
stop
there.
for food. We'll provide food with an African, kind of.
We're in New Zealand and Kiwis appreciate food too.
Of
Even
course.
Afro-Kiwis. We need
They
food
love-
gets
they
people
love
to the
that.
party.
You have
Best
to.
believe that.
You
You
lead
can't
with the
do that on
food.
an empty stomach, right? So
Yeah.
but there will be food. We are not going to have music as such because we'll be talking mostly.
Right.
And this is going to be a very serious event because we are mapping out our future. And that is why we're encouraging people, one, to nominate those that they think are capable of leading us to the next level.
Yeah.
And supporting them to do that. So which means we're calling on everyone to attend, to come in full force.
Right. So we really want to reach out to that younger audience that may or may not be listening right now or may watch the podcast on YouTube. And how are we going to get there? What do you think is the best way to get their attention, Blayz? I mean, this is your age group.
For me, it's possibly just word of mouth and sharing it on social media.
Okay.
So, like, that's the only way that they know how to do it.
Right.
Yeah, so, if the event is there, post it up on Facebook or something, and just share it all together. Instagram, all of that.
TikTok,
All of that.
all of that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So we'll create a Facebook event and then share that. Once we share it, I think it will spread.
Yeah, just share it to everyone, and then everyone shares it to everyone else.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm nominating Blayz to actually help promote this for you amongst his peeps.
If he's willing, it's more than welcome.
Well, okay, Leah. hey, you put it on me right on live. I'll do it.
You keep you busy and you
Hey,
start
I won't
thinking
let you
about all
down
that
like
other
that,
stuff.
you know?
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
all good.
Let's keep in touch and and if you can help with that, that would be really appreciated.
Yeah, I'll spread the message around, word of mouth and everything.
Absolutely.
So, I'll try to
Absolutely.
do that.
So we'll come up with a new date and let everyone know. So it will most likely be in October this time.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is the poster that's up saying you're going to pull that down?
Or pull that down and
Right.
put up another one.
Yeah.
Well, once the executive has sat down and decided when exactly to have that.
Yeah.
And I think there's still time, right? We'll also talk about the constitution at some stage. We're going to come to that, isn't it?
Yes, we got a little bit. Yep, we've got a bit of time.
Right. So on the day, depending on how the nomination process went, so if we have more candidates than the positions,
Right.
then we have elections on the day.
On the spot.
On the spot. So everyone during that nomination period is supposed to put in a statement of what they will bring to the table.
Right.
Right, and that is the statement that will be read out, and the audience, if they have any questions for those candidates prior to the voting, then they can ask, like, okay, what do you think you can change, or how do you think you can change it, and so on and so forth.
I've already nominated one person.
That is good.
I've got it in there, another young person, and he had to fill out all the forms.
Yeah.
Will you be, as you get the nominations in, will you be showcasing who they are so people can have a read about who they are and what they want to bring to the thing before the actual elections? And this is a two-parter. The other thing is, can somebody become a member and vote on the same day? So like they can come, pay their membership, and then vote on the same day. Okay.
Yes. You can do that.
Yeah. So, and about the
other one.
The candidates, yeah. How are people going to know who the candidates are?
Right. So that's a difficult one, right? So I will have a discussion with the committee, but my thinking in that is maybe a couple of weeks prior to the event, after the nominations have been closed, we can list the candidates and their statement.
Right, yeah.
So that people get to know who the candidates are and what they are going to bring to what they say they are going to bring to the table.
Yeah.
We know there's a difference between saying something.
Yeah, and doing something. Yeah. Because
So
we were kind of like last year when the first one, we were kind of walking in blind because we didn't
We were
even know.
blind.
We didn't know who had nominated themselves, and then my name got thrown in the mix, and I'm like, what?
Where did that come from?
Where did it come from? Who voted for me?
But I think like with help like that, like on the same page that you said that you're gonna create, like you could actually just like get people to say who they are and then post it on the same page as well, so that people that are gonna attend the event will know that.
Know who they are before they get there. Yeah. And who they like or who they've got a bit of an idea about what the person's standing for.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you don't know what they're standing for.
No, you're absolutely right. And we would also try and print something and distribute on the day for those who like hard copies, stuff like that. So we can have something in print about the candidates.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Communication, but there's too much information these days. It's so hard to like get your word across because you got to go over so many, you know. And
that's why I think it's always good to use official channels.
Yeah.
And so we'll try and use our website as well as the Facebook page. Official ACCW.
Do you have Instagram?
I'm not so sure. I don't think we have Instagram. We mostly use Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Facebook's quite useful for these things. It's user friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we try not to have too much different media because it will be hard to maintain.
Yes.
It will really need somebody dedicated to.
Yeah, just dedicated to social media.
Yeah.
Looking at my friend behind the camera.
Very quickly, you know. So
it is hard. I know. Just on this show, we've got Instagram, Facebook, a website in development, YouTube, and the Access page, and it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm always thinking, I need to update that. I need to update this. I need to update that. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You need like a little social media team, actually.
Exactly.
I keep smiling at the person behind the camera because that's my social media team.
You're right, Leah. You're right.
Any other questions you got?
No, I would just like to say, like, it's nice meeting you. Knowing that we got a team supporting us out there doing good work. I appreciate that and keep doing the good work because, like, some of us feel like we're left out sometimes. We feel like we're all alone. But knowing that there's people working behind the scenes for us and all that, that gives us motivation to actually go out there and do better.
Yeah,
are you gonna be talking to people you know around your neighborhood?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
you know, I will do that.
Will it be easy? Do you think it'll be an easy thing? Do you think like other young people will be like, oh yeah, I want to get involved in that?
I will pass the message around. You know the whole saying about the donkey and the river and stuff.
No, I don't. Please tell me the saying. What is going on?
But you can't get forced to drink. So,
right.
So I'll give them a message. But I cannot promise that they're gonna take it on board because for young people, like, and what am I saying? I'm grown right now. For younger people,
I'm an ex-gen, I'm allowed to say that, but I know you guys sort of go through a longer adolescence.
Like, I look at like 20-year-old like young people.
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s, so
yeah.
For younger people, the thing that they feel is like there's a big generational gap between them and their parents. So every time like someone older tries to put some sense into them, they don't want to listen to it because like their advice it's meant well, but it doesn't
land.
Yeah, it doesn't land on them because what their parents are trying to tell them, and the situations they're in doesn't match.
Yeah.
So, but
no, I understand.
I'll pass the message around though.
I can see that because I know, like even with my son, he's 26 now, and there was that period of feeling like, wow, there was kind of a thing in Sydney because he had his crew. There was a kind of a thing in Perth because he had his crew, and then he came back here, and it's like, where's the crew? There used to be one. What's happened? Like, what's happened to everybody? And I did get that sense of kind of despondency. Like, oh, it's all too hard, and nobody really listens to what we're saying, and nobody's really understanding what's going on right here where our feet are. And sometimes the things that would make complete sense, say in Tanzania, are not making complete sense here because it's a completely different environment. And I don't know, it was almost like this refusal to, we're not going to meet in the middle anywhere. So there's no middle ground. Would that be right?
And some optimistic point of view, or just seeing the light somehow. I've been through that kind of lifestyle, and I'll go through it. So it's just like I can truthfully say that like you can get through it. It's not that hard. Like people used to say a lot of things about if you do this and that you can't do this anymore. Yeah. But I'm a living proof that you can do it. Yeah. Like so I purposely like my friends in my neighborhood, younger people than me. I just show them like the way, bro. Don't do this, don't do that. But if you keep doing this way you're gonna end up. And if you keep doing this way, you might end up. So just trying to like distribute a good,
Because I mean,
message to the youth.
I think in all cultures there are people who might fall by the wayside. I mean, I haven't been a perfect little angel all of my life either. And there was that period of time where I wouldn't say I didn't have identity confusion. I had, where do you fit in this environment? Because everybody's confused about who I am, So there was that period of being really angry because I'd had that systemic experience here. So, I kind of get, and I think that experience helps me understand what younger people are going through because I've actually been through what they've been through.
Thank you.
And that's kind of, I think it's probably more difficult if you spent all of your life in Zimbabwe or Tanzania and you come here and you haven't had that lived experience at that level here. What do you think?
Yeah, that is true. And in talking to Baron last week during the interview, he pointed out quite a few things, or several things actually, which Africans at a younger age experience. Yeah. And sometimes they try to keep it to themselves as much as possible. Yeah. But at some stage they have to tell someone, right?
You have to tell someone, otherwise you go through stuff.
Yeah.